everybody. Welcome to the HooperCast. I hope that wasn't super duper loud, but I have no idea because it showed up as another audio track, and so I'm worried that it double played itself. And,
Gotcha.
And that it was like just gigantically overmodulated. Yeah. Oh my God, my hotkeys work. Wow. Holy crap.
What? Holy crap. That's an oldie.
Anyway,
Thank you, Seth MacFarlane.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 135 of the HooperCast. We are actually streaming live right now, so that's cool with this video. So I'm hoping it's not super duper 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 laggy, but I have no way of knowing that till it's too late. So
Right.
Anyway, you can catch these live streams. We do the show it's Wednesday, but we do it every Monday night at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, and we try to do it on time. We try to do it on Mondays, and we try to talk about interesting movie stuff. And it's up to you whether or not we succeed at that, I guess. Right, Dustin?
Right, exactly.
My co-host, Dustin
you decide.
Weldon, co-captain of the ship.
Co-captain. Co-captain, my captain.
That was good, Dustin. Yeah, that was great. Anyway, we're on live streaming on YouTube, so if you want to follow us or not follow, subscribe on YouTube. What are we? HooperCast Pod.
HooperCast
on
Pod.
YouTube. Yeah, so just hop over to YouTube, give us a subscribe or don't. It doesn't really matter.
We don't care what you think.
It's just a great start. Anyway, how's it going, Dustin?
It's not bad. The throat's a little weird tonight, but so I'm just chugging the water. But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
All right, man.
How are you, Hooper?
I'm good. I got some awesome mail actually.
Did
Before
you?
the show. Yeah, well, I was waiting on your tardy butt to get
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I got some mail. My brother. I'm sorry, this is super loud and it's bad pod, but I got an Amazon gift cards and stuff for Christmas and stuff like that, and so we needed to stock up on some movies for me and some movies for the kids. So got 4 movies, and I didn't pay anything because it was like a $75 gift card.
What?
Yeah. So I just wanted to share real quick. I wasn't going to do this because it's not that interesting, but since it literally showed up like 15 minutes before we started
You might as
tonight-
well show.
Right.
What you got? What you got?
Well, so I've got for myself, I've got Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I've got the extended edition of the Wolverine
Oh, snap.
because I heard it's better, and I haven't actually seen it. And
Gotcha.
I'm big into Wolverine, which is why I also got Logan.
Yes.
And
Knew that was coming.
And then for the kids, we got Moana.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's giving me a lot of fun. Let me close this knife. So
Do you guys do the Disney movie rewards?
Yeah. We got the Disney Movies Anywhere thing. So I guess that's the same thing, right?
No, so when you open those Blu-rays for Doctor Strange and Moana, you'll see a code in there, and if you type in that code at Disney Movie Rewards website, you earn points, and then you can spend the points on Blu-rays later down the road, and get them for free. So
That's cool.
yeah, I've gotten a handful of free Blu-rays from there before, like Princess and the Frog and The Rocketeer and Robin Hood. A couple others. I don't remember.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let me see something. Keep talking.
Hey, 1, 2.
Keep talking.
Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about some
I
cool
don't
stuff. I don't know what Hooper's doing right now, but
It's nothing. Forget it.
okay, I gotcha.
Anyway, yeah. It's just very important stuff dealing with the audio.
Gotcha.
Anyway, turning my monitor back off. It's driving me nuts. Anyway, for people who don't realize it, I'm not a terrible. Well, I am a terrible host, but I'm not just a terrible host. I'm also a shitty one. I'm also directing this show. Basically, I've got like a simple little switcher, and I'm really trying to make the show visually interesting since I am by myself incapable of making it orally interesting.
Gotcha.
I hate saying that word. You really have to emphasize the AU where people go,
Oh, really?
what? Anyway, all right. Well, let's talk about the first movie we were going to talk about tonight, which is the BFG, Dustin, which
BFG.
you saw, and I saw a part of because my children and because stuff.
Oh, I gotcha.
So so I can weigh in a little
Here and
bit.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, the BFG came out in 2016, so last year, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg. It's actually his first film that he did for Disney, so it was kind of a big deal leading up to it, at least for me, to say, hey, let's see what Spielberg does under the Disney moniker, since it's never happened. And yeah, so what we get is really more of a Disney movie than it is a Spielberg movie. But I think there's elements of Spielberg's, signatures here and there in this film. But by and large, I feel like it's probably the least Spielberg movie I've seen since maybe Tintin. Did you ever see The Adventures of Tintin?
I did.
Not a bad movie, but definitely didn't feel like Steven Spielberg. And I haven't seen it since theaters, so I don't really remember what happened or anything. But
I
for the
remember being
BFG,
really, really, really like just a lot going on visually and pretty fun.
almost too much. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun, but it was almost like overload for your senses. And so I felt like this was not as bad as of an overload, but at the same time, I kind of felt like it was lacking in Spielberg's signature. Um, I don't know, just the way that he does things. I mean, he's definitely a filmmaker that appeals to kids and to adults, and so his stuff is almost like fairy tale like and specifically talking about things that are more like fictional, and then he has his Saving Private Ryan's and his Munich's where they're more historical, and so he doesn't take as big of a fantasy license with it. But even things like Raiders of the Lost Ark is fantastic, and exaggerated, and so this really pulls that to the extreme, to the point where to me it no longer feels like a Spielberg, because while Spielberg's films are fantastic, they're also still grounded and they still feel like they work in our world, even if it's just sort of a heightened, like tall tale kind of world. But this seems completely removed from our world for the most part. And so I guess for that reason, it feels less like a Spielberg movie. Um, but so let's synopsize. Is that a word? Synopsize?
Yeah. Synopticize.
Synopticize this film. So the film is about a young girl whose name is Sophie. I had to look that up. Sorry, Sophie, and so Sophie is an orphan and lives at an orphanage, and has insomnia and has trouble sleeping. So she's often awake while all the other kids are in bed, and while her abusive caretaker is asleep as well. So she kind of sneaks around the house and plays and does things, yells out the window at drunken people, and I don't know what kids do, I guess.
Just heckling drunk people, trying to
Right.
find their way home.
Exactly, heckling drunk people from windows. That's what you do in England.
Right. It's yeah. She's just precocious. She can't sleep, so she just sort of like, what am I gonna do? Oh, there's a poor soul just trying to find his car. Come on.
Yeah, let me go pick on him.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of an outsider, and all of these things that someone like Elliot sort of is, or whatever. I mean, if you want to go down the list of Spielbergian kind of Goonies or whatever, I know I didn't direct that, but she reminds me of a Spielberg character. And what ends up happening is she sees something that she shouldn't have seen, which is a giant. And in this case, a BFG, the big friendly giant,
Yes.
who initially she's scared of, but he takes her and runs to giant country with her in tow, and sets her down on his kitchen table and prepares food for himself. And she begins to talk to him, and he has this strange way of speaking, and he's very charismatic, not in the sense of like suave, but charismatic in the sense that he's just so interesting. You kind of just want to keep talking to him. and especially for a kid who's drawn to things that are a little strange and a little weird, and for an outsider like her to be drawn to another outsider, and especially when she sees that the BFG has to deal with some other giants who are not friendly to him and pick on him because he's the runt, he's the smallest of the giants.
Oops, sorry about that. Screwed up the video here.
Oh, no worries.
Poop. I don't even know how to get rid of it. There we go.
And
wait, no. I don't know. Something's happening, Dustin. I don't understand.
I gotcha.
I'm glad I didn't write something really weird on that.
I know, right?
Okay. Well, let's get. Oh God, now I'm scared, Dustin. I'm really scared.
Oh no!
All right, you know
should
what?
we be live?
We're gonna get off of you and just go to me for a second. So
okay, that sounds.
I type
good.
very questionable things to Dustin when we're on Skype, and this was years. This stream includes stuff from a year ago, so I was just.
So there's no idea.
I was in an odd place. I just don't want you guys to have to see that. All right, how in the F do I get rid of this window? I shouldn't have clicked the chat icon. Oh, there we go. All right.
There it is.
All right, cool. All right, Dustin, you have the floor.
Gotcha. So the BFG does a few things for a living, it seems. Honestly, I'm not sure. Does he get paid for this, or is he just doing this as a hobby?
I really don't know. I don't know if he's just like on some food stamps and he just has some hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, do they shop? I guess they don't shop. I guess they don't need currency. I guess their land is just their own, and
it'd be so small. Like you drop a penny and be like, "Damn it!"
Oh gosh.
Oh, there
right.
it goes again.
I don't know where that went.
Go back to Bitcoin.
Right.
Or always go back to Bitcoins is whatever, however he says it. Like
not a bad impression.
He sound. Actually, that was. You know what that was? That was Slam Fist from Small Soldiers. We tried to fix him. Carry on, Dustin.
So the BFG is a dream collector, and he takes Sophie out dream collecting and sort of expositions his way through this little sequence where he talks to her about dream catching and whatnot. And anyway, the whole point of the thing is that she's gonna help him kind of find some courage and stand up to the bullies and whatnot. But really, truth be told, and I don't know how far you got, Hooper, but the truth is, the plot of this film takes a long time to get going. For a long time, it's just things are happening, and there's no stakes. There's no sense of like escalation of any kind, and it's just okay. We're here with the friendly giant, and he's showing us some things, and we're getting to see his country, and we're getting to see where he lives and how he lives and who he's living with and all of this stuff. And really, I almost feel like it's not until the third act that there's a solid, like, what is this movie about kind of story. And I mean, I don't know how far did you get, Hooper? What's the last thing you remember?
I came in and out.
Okay.
So for me, it was, oh God, I gotta just monitor out. They were like going back into the city. Like he finally let her come back in town, and then like she jumped off a balcony and he caught her, which was super reckless because she's very like, reckless. I know you're there. And if you'd just been like around the corner, like pooping,
right,
game over. You'd hear, oh, and he'd fall, and then like you just hear like a distant rumble, like oh no.
Yeah,
I don't feel good about that joke.
He just runs around the corner and his pants are at his ankles, and he's like, oh.
He's holding a toilet paper truck, and he's just trying to fish. Where are they? He's trying to open the little boxes with his big fingers.
Dude uses like a circus tent to wipe. Like he just grabs like a big circus tent, and he's like, But man, I don't know. Or would he use a bidet? Like would he find a fountain and just squat over the fountain?
I wonder if they had splash pads in 19th century London. He just goes and sits on the middle of it. This kind of works. I don't know. I
don't know how to do this anymore.
Sorry, Steven. Sorry, we're all dull.
Sorry, guys. But no, so look, here's the thing. It's not a bad movie. It's a Spielberg movie. It's a Disney movie. It's for kids. I
Mm-hmm.
almost feel bad to hate on it too much because I think kids will enjoy it. But I think that there's too many fart jokes and there's too many weird like reliance like over reliance on he talks funny and
Yeah.
these tropes for kids where they'll get to imitate what he does and what he taught the way he speaks and I can't really knock that too much because there's a place for that certainly in cinema, but I guess for me there wasn't as much for an adult to latch onto, and I feel like maybe if I were watching this with kids it
Mm-hmm.
would be a different story. But I think the fact remains as a movie, um, it's fine, but it's not really gonna make you think, and it's not really gonna change your life, and it's not really gonna be one that you're gonna rush out to watch over and over and over again. Um, and and I think maybe that's just the nature of the story that Roald Dahl wrote. It's just not as memorable as something like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where you know people of all ages can enjoy it and watch it and get something out of it. This is just for kids. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, not a bad movie, but it's a little long and it takes a long time to really get to the point where you could say what this movie is about. Um, and I don't know. I don't relate to films like that where there's not a sense of escalation or like if I'm 30 minutes in and I can't tell you what the movie is about, then I think there's some inherent problems. So I would almost restructure this and format it so that there's a threat that has to be overcome very early on, and then they have all these setbacks that are related to the threat that we know we're building towards climactically. So all that to say, it's just not it's not a great film, and it's not something that I'm gonna rush out to see again.
Right.
Um, so if the question is, Dustin, would you recommend this? The answer is if you're bored. Um, it, it's a little it's just not for adults, and so if you're bored enough to watch it, watch it. If you're a Steven Spielberg like completionist, where you're like I have to see everything he does, then watch it. And all of that. But the truth is, there's not really any cast member in here that you're like, oh, I love him, so I have to see everything he's doing, or I love her, so I have to watch for her, or whatever, because it's largely unknowns and mocap people. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't get much out of it. Here's the silver lining, and I think this is very much one of those things where it's going to depend on you and your outlook on things. But for me, at least, um, I found that, and I don't know where Roald Dahl fell religiously, but for me, I found a lot of Christian allegory in this film. You mentioned the "I know you're there" and jumping off of the bridge or off of the
Right.
the balcony. That to me is sort of, and the idea that he's got these ears that he can hear, the murmurings of your heart, and he can hear, you from wherever he is. Um, there's some allegory there of the nature of God, that when you leap in faith, he'll be there to catch you, and um, when you call out to him, he'll always hear you. I think there's some good allegory there. But I think it is lost about halfway through the film, and so it falls short of something like a C.S. Lewis allegorical film or story rather. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, what did you think? I feel like I've gone on a little longer than I anticipated. I just felt like it was just okay.
You know, I didn't see. Oh my god! I turn the thing off every time I'm about to speak. Forget to turn it off. And people love hearing about me turning it off. Um, I thought that it just seemed pretty simplistic, but it seemed very firmly for kids. I didn't get the feeling that it was one of those things that was really made for all audiences.
Yeah.
I didn't see the film all the way through, but it seemed like a lot of, it just seemed like you really are seeing it through like a little kid's eyes. And there just wasn't a lot there for me personally. But
Yeah.
I thought that there we go. Here's something. Sorry, it took me so long to get video up because the stuff wasn't downloading like it was supposed to. So I was rigging up the the internet page.
Gotcha.
So anyway, but if you look at that picture, I think that that's interesting because I really was impressed, and I'm continually impressed by motion capture and performance capture technology, and how much like Mark Rylance, the BFG, looks. Especially in not only obviously his looks, but his mannerisms. And I only know that because I saw Bridge of Spies within the past year.
Yep.
And so you've got
That's a good movie, by the way.
It's a great movie, and and you've got an Academy Award winning actor right here playing this giant. And I really enjoyed his performance. I think the movie's worth seeing, really just for him. But then again, I didn't watch it all the way through. I didn't have to sit there with it. I was wrestling with my kids during it.
Right.
So, but I really did. I was impressed by that particular aspect of it. Everything else is sort of expected these days. You got nice vistas that you've created in a computer, and other interesting.
Me personally, I loved the vistas.
I love the vistas, but you've got this this posh landscape that's really beautiful that you didn't have to scout a location for. You just made it in a computer.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I wasn't really as impressed with the compositing work in this though. They did a better job with like the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings films,
Right.
There, especially when she's in his his little shack, not little shack, it's a very large shack. He's a giant.
Right.
But I just thought it was just, or when he's holding her and she's standing on some green platform or whatever, she's on a soundstage, the physics and the motion didn't match up correctly. So from a technical standpoint, that could have been a little bit better. But most people are just going to be impressed that this big giant's talking to this little girl, and it's cute, and it's a book they read, and now they're seeing it.
Right. And
That's kind of the impression
I wonder practically why the decision was made that at least in his shack, why they couldn't have made that practically and just put him in the scene and had everything else be real. I mean, it theoretically wouldn't be that difficult to build. I mean, obviously you're not going to suspend a little girl that high in the air, on a table or whatever, but you could build, a floor that looks like a tabletop and build large props for her to interact with that would be real and convincing. And I think at one point she gets put in a bowl, and I feel like that's real. But yeah, I remember thinking, like, I feel like some of this at least could be practical.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. Trying to get this thing in the spot I want it to go to. Sorry, there's so much stuff I'm doing on the fly here. I gotta get really better at that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, even in that picture, I mean, that's not the best picture of it, but just things like the lighting. I don't know. She looks a little. I don't know. Just little things. It's not that bad. And again, most people aren't going to notice it. But but he obviously looks like he's looking right at her because that's all done in post. But it doesn't seem like they exist on the same visual plane. There's something in the details of him that completely works the same way that Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol worked. But if you try to composite an actual human being in there, it's photoreal, but not if you put them together, because then there's discrepancies all over the place. And then we're getting in the weeds here with the technical stuff, but that's stuff that I notice in movies. And if you're going to try and sell me on your reality, you either got to do it all CG or, at this point, I mean, it wasn't cheaper just to do it all CG. I mean, isn't compositing like really super hard?
I feel
like it is. I mean, I feel like it's really hard.
I would imagine.
Wouldn't it just be easier to just do all CG?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would imagine. To me, yeah, I would imagine. But yeah, my thought is like, okay, Dustin, you're directing it, and I'm no Steven Spielberg, but I'm certainly gonna say like, all right,
You
I want to
know
do it.
Steven Spielberg?
Yes, I do.
Oh no.
I call him Steve.
Why didn't you bring him on the show?
And
Oh.
and yeah, I don't know. I just think that my inclination would have been to make as much practical sense as possible. Um, eh,
Well, that's the BFG. It is currently out for rent, and I saw it on Netflix.
yeah,
So,
that's where I saw it.
okay, cool. Yeah. So, if you got kids, it's something worth putting on. I mean, I don't recall any like overt graphic violence in this
No,
children's film.
no. Depends on how you feel about fart jokes.
Oh, there's a great one in there.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I laughed louder than my daughter did there. She just looked at me and I was like,
That's funny.
it's the real deal.
Wait until the third act.
Oh boy.
I'll just spoil a little bit for you. You're gonna see the actual Queen of England
Oh no.
fart
No.
super hard.
No, 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 no.
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay, well, maybe I don't need to see that.
And her corgis as well.
And it's weird, like I don't see this in everything that I encounter, but like every time I see something that involves British actors and London, or particularly royalty or the Prime Minister or the Queen in England, it always reminds me of Doctor Who, because at a certain point in that show, she knows who the Doctor is, and there's a whole like unit called Unit, actually, now that I think about it, who knows who the Doctor is, and so when she just sort of like accepts that there's this giant and there's giant country and there's worse giants coming, she's just like, you will accompany him to giant country. I remember thinking like, this is just like the Queen just sort of being like, all right, so this is a guy with two hearts who can time travel,
Right.
and we're gonna fight these machines. They're gonna exterminate. It's just weird, but I kind of like that. I don't know. I really sometimes don't like in movies, especially tones like this, where we're going to waste a ton of time with like, you're saying giants exist? Come on, and it's just
Right.
like, all right, just look out the window. It's a giant person out there. Like,
Yeah.
He's got a large bag.
Yeah.
He looks like he needs to clean under his fingernails a little bit, maybe wash his hands. He looks kind of like that old guy who fixes Woody.
Yeah, he does.
He does. Oh God, now I got to find a picture of it, but he looks like that guy. Oh man.
He really does. Yeah, and I feel like that's the other thing is these characters, when they when people make these movies where they have photorealistic characters, they tend to go overboard with like dirt under their fingernails and stuff, to the point where they kind of look really dirty and grimy, just because they're adding too much texture. It works in this case. I mean, he's a giant living in giant country, working in the dirt and whatever, but yeah.
Oh man, I don't
He
even
definitely
know.
looks dirty.
I don't know what to search for that guy. Do you know what that guy's name is in the thing?
I don't. I would search like Toy Story 2, Woody repair.
I'm just gonna do cleaner. Oh, there we go. All right,
there
I
it
found
is.
him. Hold on. All right, where's a good picture of him? Oh, all the pictures they have are crappy. Come on. All right. Well, now people don't know what I'm talking about. So hold on. Let me just.
Yeah, that's good enough.
All right, that's fine. This is a terrible, but okay. So there's that guy.
Right.
All right, and then I'll go back. Oh, damn it. Okay. There we go. Right?
Yeah.
Come on, people.
It's the same dude,
It's the same person.
just more detailed.
And different size. A lot of different
Right.
sizes.
Much smaller.
All right, anyway, that's the BFG. All right, so
Yeah.
we're going to keep the live stream going because I have not received reports that my internet's gone down the tubes.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about the Flash, Dustin.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I'm representing Team Flash today.
Hey! I'm representing the color blue.
There you go. You're Savitar.
Ah,
Whenever they would like pop up on screen,
mm-hmm.
and they're they just be like Sante Conte. I was like, man, like is he really that? Is he because I know I get it.
It
He's
has
the
to be
speed
epic,
god,
Cooper.
But like every time he would pop on screen, it'd be like, Scooby Dooby. You know, I don't know. Like, not toward the end of the season when they started to kind of humanize him a little bit, but like,
sure. But early it was that way.
Right. He would like, they'd have him, got a picture of him right here. Yeah, he'd be like, Barry would be like what's that? Do you hear that? I don't know. Where's it coming from? And it's just like, Scotty, Fonte, I will break you, Flash. Anyway.
That's really an accurate representation of the creative process of the Flash.
Yeah.
So what'd you think about season 3?
So it starts off kind of, it starts off good. They always do. Mm-hmm. And it drags in the middle. They always do. Mm-hmm. And then it brings it home. They always do.
Right.
I found that pretty, I don't know, consistent that way. The show's been. This is just an interesting scene because we're going to talk spoilers here. So if you're watching on the live stream and you haven't seen the season finale of The Flash, season 3, that's what we're talking about. So,
Sorry.
Get out of here. But I thought that it's something. I don't know. How do you feel about this show? Always the villain always being a speedster. I mean, then that's fine because how else do you?
So here's what I think. I think this should be the last speedster. Mm-hmm. I think it should be done as far as big bads being speedsters. And I'm not even sure that we need a big bad next year. I think, there's plenty of character work to be done and you can do smaller bite-sized villains. But if you're going to do a big bad, I think we're done with the speedster villains. And you've got a plethora of villains that you've set up that could be the big bad already. And you don't even have to waste our time with like, who is this guy? What is he about? The first 3 seasons became formulaic in that sense where it's like, okay, at halfway through, there's going to be, some sort of big bad fight where the Flash is going to lose. And then he's going to be told you have to be faster. And then, whatever. And it's going to just hit those same things. And so I think that we're done with that. I think we've hit it as much as we can and should. So at this point, I feel like we could have a season where Grodd is the main villain, orchestrating a lot of things. We could have, almost the rogues kind of teaming up. And so you have, Cold and Heatwave and whoever else. Although I know that there's, Legends of Tomorrow stuff that is preventing that and whatever, but I hate that. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, you saw King Shark there, and there's plenty of colorful villains that they could always pull from to team up and take down Flash. And the great thing is we already know their motivation, so we don't have to spend time on it. We already know what they're capable of, so we don't have to spend time on it. Just add in a couple other wrinkles like, oh no, how is King Shark doing this thing? And then we have to figure out how he did some new crazy thing. And so, all that is to say, I think we're done with the speedster villains.
You know what I wish this show did better, though? I mean, it's really great with its resources. I think we've established the effects are really, really good.
Yeah.
But I think what the show could do better, and what I appreciate when other shows do, is when they deep tease a villain.
Yeah.
You've got a season. I can't think of shows who do it right now, but like you've got plenty of people. The Sopranos always had plenty of guys who could jump up and just be the next antagonist.
Yeah.
So when they did, you're always like, oh God, not Johnny Sack. God, guy's such an asshole. But it'd be cool if the Flash could do that, where you just had a villain decide to get called up, or you had someone introduced the same season as that season's villain.
Yeah.
And then you have like a Starscream situation where, maybe toward the end of that season, he actually like
usurps the villain
power you know, and so maybe that plays a role in his downfall, but he's really just setting himself up for the next season to be that villain. And that way, because something that TV shows do, it's a very television-y thing to do, and it's more old school. Like these days, they really have gotten better about it, but you still dip down in this territory where like it's just every season it's just like, oh, it's very season-y. The events on the show happen in a very season of television way instead of a realistic way, or and it's really realistic to deep tease a villain because then it feels just more natural. And by the time you get to the season where they're the villain, they've already built up some suspense, or they've earned the level of notoriety that they have for being the bad guy. So you don't have to have 5-6 episodes for them becoming the villain and then like at the mid-season being like, hello, Barry, I'm the villain.
Right. No, it's true. And like I said, there's plenty of villains that they could pull from. And I think a season where Grodd is the main villain is really the way to go. I think he's strong enough and he deserves some good development in that, because he's still not quite the Grodd that we know from the comics. And so I think there's plenty of time to kind of build him into that. Now, obviously, he's an effects-heavy villain. That'd be like pulling in and saying, we're going to do Darkseid this year. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to... It's super tough, but it could be done. And, if they're wise with it and they kind of have him behind everything for a while, pulling some strings and then show him occasionally. And even if you show him at the end of, every other episode for like a tag or something, just to remind the audience that, hey, he's there, he's working, he's doing things. I just think that that's sort of the way to go. But I think the show needs to change up its formula, because I don't know how far you are or have gotten with Arrow, but that has really become Arrow's downfall, is that it's formulaic to a fault. You always have the same type of villain, and you always have him doing the same thing, to the point where, like, I think it was season 3, at the end of season 3, there's even like a throwaway line like, oh, it's May, it must be time for the city to be taken over by villains. And it's like, man, this is so formulaic that the characters have to point it out, or else it'll seem too stupid. And so that's where I hope the Flash doesn't get. But yeah.
What did you think of the finale, the actual finale event of this episode, where you got Barry entering the Speed Force?
So I'll back up just a little bit just to give some context. I figured they weren't going to kill Iris. I figured that something was going to happen and Iris was going to live. I didn't know quite what, but I also figured that HR would die, just because it's time for, you did. And where, each season it's time for Tom Cavanaugh to play a new version of Wells. So you got to get rid of this guy somehow. And what have they really not done yet? They haven't really killed him. So let's kill one. I guess they killed the original, but you know what I mean? And it was never really Harrison Wells in the first place. But anyway, so I figured that wasn't going to happen. So I figured that there would be something in this episode that would pull at our heartstrings, because the first scene was interrupted in that moment where, okay, Barry's going to have to grieve and Joe's going to have to grieve, and then we get interrupted. So I'm like, all right, well, something's going to happen. They've never left us on a cliffhanger where it's not emotional in some way. So as far as this scene, what we're seeing right here, I loved this whole sequence, and yes, it felt maybe a little, I've heard a complaint that it felt tacked on, like it didn't have much to do with this episode or this season, and I can kind of see that. But at the same time, I felt like it was a very fitting end, and it was very emotional, the way he was, talking to his friends and what he was saying, and sort of giving them their due, and thank you for who you are and what you've done for me. And he even has his little line to Cisco here that you're my hero. and everyone gets a little send off, and I think that's such a great way to tug at the heartstrings, and it's very in character for Barry. Um, yeah, I mean, what did you think? Did you think it felt tacked on? Did you think it was unearned?
You know, no, I didn't think it was unearned.
Hmm.
It felt nice to have something leading into. I can't remember how the other season's finales ended, but it felt nice to have something that was leading into the next season. That wasn't just
Yeah.
like, all right, well, that was the season, and then see you later.
Right.
It felt
Yep.
like, and I guess the last one did with Flashpoint, and
Yeah.
you'd have to wait to see how he changed it. So that was an effective tease. But
Sure.
I don't know what I would have wanted otherwise. I mean, like, I don't want
Yeah.
to see them. I want some sort of tension leading to the next season. I want to feel like there's a reason to tune in on the premiere night. I want to
Yeah.
see, what's
The
going on with
resolution.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I thought that this whole season, I thought that it was a very character-driven season for Barry, because you have him facing a villain who's essentially himself,
Hmm.
and you've got a resolution that has everything to do with his goodness and his willing to be accountable,
Yeah.
and him stepping up and taking responsibility for for what he's created, what he's caused with the Speed Force, but stepping up for Central City and deciding that he's going to go in there because while it's not running around stopping bank robbers and other metahumans, it's a very selfless thing for him to do, to go in there so that the city doesn't get destroyed. And it's a whole season where he's especially had to grapple with the idea that he started the season being really selfish. He created an alternate timeline, and there's a really important, in the recap I was showing earlier, there's a line that Jay Garrick says to him. He says something like, are you pretty much just gonna go back every time you make a mistake? Or are you gonna own your mistakes and learn from them and live with
Hmm.
them?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really important line,
Yeah.
because that's important for any hero to be able to have to deal with, to live with the mistakes they've made. And you've got
Yeah.
someone who can time travel and fix them, but there's always a consequence. And Barry learned that. I mean, a lot of the whole reason all this happened was because of time loops and messing with the timeline. So this is the chickens finally coming home to roost, and him being like, it's my penance. I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no getting around this. This is my responsibility. I did this, and this is the only way to fix it.
Yeah.
And I think that's noble, and especially when you have a season filled with lines alluding to, like, your goodness is your strength, and you need to not. I know you think that you have to, like, kill this person to stop bad things from happening, but your goodness is why you're a hero, and your goodness
Hmm.
will always lead you to a resolution. And
Right.
so
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was very character driven, and I think, in a very real way, Savitar was Barry fighting his own inner demons. And I enjoyed driving through Barry's emotions this year. And I think that there's an important episode, I think it's maybe the third from the end, where Barry gets amnesia and he's unable to remember, much about his life. And so he's very free and happy and, jovial, and he's just joking with everybody and having a good time. And maybe it's wishful thinking, but I do kind of think that they are building towards a lighter, more carefree Barry Allen, and maybe this penance is I don't get the idea that it's the Speed Force being malevolent. I think the Speed Force is kind of being sort of maternal, right? And maybe that's why his mother shows up, is that she's going to take him to a place where he can become a better Barry Allen. And let's not kid ourselves. Grant Gustin's going to be the star of the show next season. It's not like he's going to be gone for any length of time. I could see them doing maybe 2 or 3 episodes without him, but that would be the most. And so yeah, let's not kid ourselves. Barry's going to be the main character, and I think when he comes back, what we're going to see is more of this Barry that we're looking at right now, which is the Barry that's carefree and is able to finally say, yeah, I've faced some dark times in my life. My parents have died, and I've faced, the potential death of the woman that I love, and all of my friends have suffered in ways because of me. But at the same time, I've done a whole lot of good, and I love people, and even Savitar himself, I tried to reach out to and show him kindness, and I think that that's the Barry we're going to get when he comes back, and I can't wait to see that, because I think Grant Gustin is really good at playing that character, and I think he's good at playing Barry Allen in general, whether he's, weight of the world on his shoulders Barry, or completely carefree Barry. But I think we're going to see more of that Barry, and I'm a little worried. I think the thing that worries me, and I'll get your opinion on this, I think the thing that worries me is letting Wally West drive the ship for too long next year. It's clear from the end of this year that Wally is going to be the Flash, at least for some amount of time. And I'm okay with that. But I don't know that Keenan Lonsdale is strong enough of a performer to carry a show by himself. And so for me, my real kind of hesitation is in letting him do that and letting the show live without Grant for 3 episodes. I think could be a really bad idea. So that's my worry. What do you think? Do you think that they'll bring Barry back soon? Will he be, back in the first episode, and, they'll say like, oh, 5 years have passed, or anything like that? Like, what's going to happen?
I think they'll go. I think they don't want to waste time with. I was talking to my wife about this. I don't think they're going to want to waste a lot of time with Grant Gustin being just not there. Maybe the first episode, maybe. Yeah. But then again, you do see the show through his eyes. I mean, there's scenes with Joe and other characters, but it really is his show. So to really get the full impact of, I feel very strongly that again, it's not entirely a first-person show, but like when you have, a stranger in a strange land, kind of fish out of water kind of stuff, you need the fish there to explain why the fact that there's no water is strange. So for them to spend a whole episode showing 5 years later, and Iris is dating some drummer, and and Kid Flash grew his hair out even more. Seriously, his hair got.
He's gonna be like Gerald from Hey Arnold before long.
Like Questlove. And
dude, Questlove. That's who Iris is dating. The drummer. It's Questlove.
Iris is dating Questlove. I think that I think for them to come back and show all that without Barry would be kind of weird.
So I agree with you. I think,
hold on a second. Here's Questlove, everybody.
There's Questlove. So going from the comics, right? So in the comics, Barry Allen dies in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and after he dies, Wally West steps up to become the Flash, and there's a good 20 years where Barry Allen was dead before he comes back. And when he does, it's a very Steve Rogers kind of thing where I've been dead for 20 years, and let's see how, or it's not 20 years in comic time, but I've been dead for years, and let me see how the world has changed in my absence. And so Barry is fish out of water, but you make a good point. Like, I don't know that they'll necessarily do that. And then at the same time, so in other words, they're not going to spend a whole season without him. And at the same time, they're probably not going to say, okay, 2 years in the future, because then how do you reconcile that with Arrow, which is not going to jump 2 years, or is it going to jump 2 years?
Oh my God.
And so you have to take into consideration, if you're going to jump 2 years in Flash, are they going to, in order to do the 4-way crossover this year, are they going to have to go back in time? You know what I mean? You have to account for all of that. And so I don't really see that happening. But here's what I think would be interesting, and tell me what you think. And this might be what I would do, just rattling off the top of my head. Um, what if instead we spend 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, maybe one. Let's be real. One episode with only Grant Gustin, so that we see a full like 40-minute episode of just Grant in the Speed Force,
Yeah.
and maybe introduce the idea of like, so we're not looking at Joe like like the Speed Force takes over Joe's body, or what I mean, does anything like that, but like they're not in it. Like it's literally only Grant Gustin, and some crazy effects, and like this, and so you're just seeing Grant, and he's going through and meeting like other prisoners in the Speed Force, or other people, and people we've never met, and I think that could be cool, because we're essentially with him the whole time. And then by the end of the episode, or episode 2 or whatever, we see him come back into the world, and then we with him get to see how things have changed, rather than seeing an episode in Central City without him. We now never had any time without Grant Gustin, and when he comes back, we also didn't get any Central City time without Grant Gustin. So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would be like we're in his shoes. He comes back, and we're familiar with what he's been doing, but we're not familiar with the way that things have changed. And I think that could be an interesting way to kind of resolve the idea of him being a prisoner in the Speed Force, and things changing in his absence. But I don't know. I'll tell you this. It's super interesting, and The Flash always has a way of doing this, where every year it leaves me saying, I don't know what they're going to do now. Like, where are we going with this? So season 1, he jumps up into the vortex, and it's like, okay, he's going to save the world. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Season 2 is even more ambiguous, because he's going to change the timeline. And season 3 is even more ambiguous, because now he's gone, and as a film goer, or I say a movie goer, but like as a TV watcher, the star of the show is not leaving for any extended amount of time.
Right.
So it's like, what are they going to do now? And have they written themselves into a corner?
Oh, is that your question? Oh.
Yeah.
I think that I think they've always got some ideas. I don't know. This show's always been pretty abstract, and I think that you have a lot of opportunities to get kind of weird with it. It just depends on. It really just depends on the villain. I know that there's stuff going on with Barry, but like I don't know what his next arc is. I don't know what his next internal problem is. I don't know. But what I kind of think is going to happen is I think you're going to deal with Barry coming out of the Speed Force, at some point, whenever that is. I don't know, how long they keep him in there. I mean, maybe it's 5-10 years, but you'd have to accept the show moving forward to that degree in time. Like you said, you'd have to accept that he's in there, and he's going to come out, and maybe other shows, like you said, they haven't come along with them. They haven't made the same time jump, or have they? Or is he going to go back again and fix it once he's out? But if he does, then he hasn't learned his lesson at all.
Right.
So I think what is going to happen is you're going to have even 2 years. Let's just say 2 years. That's okay. It's enough of a time jump. Because maybe other shows do make it. I don't know. But you basically have a long enough time period. Barry comes out. He's suffered, it's been whatever, but he comes out, he's done, and they release him, and, he comes back, and then things are, I don't know, how long do you think Iris would wait for him? But then, what's too long of a time jump? But essentially the idea is this, he would come back, and then Iris has moved on, and maybe it's not as bad as in Flashpoint, all this stuff with the rest of his team, but something has to be wrong. Wrong enough to where it bothers him, but the point is this: whatever he sees when he comes out, he has to. His next thing is to learn to deal with it and move on and accept it, and whatever that is has to be hard. And I think with them, what they did really well this season is constantly not give him what he wants when it comes to Iris. He's finally got her, and then they spend a season knowing that she's going to die.
Yeah.
And then he's got her, and then he has to leave and go into the Speed Force.
Yeah.
And he pretty much pretty quickly accepts that he might have to die or be in there for a very long time. And he tells her to he's very resolute about it. He tells her, like, move on and live your life. But then when he comes out, he has to actually see what that looks like. And for her to be with somebody else or something, or just living her life, I think that would be hard for him to accept. And I think whoever the villain is maybe does that thing. But I think internally what you got with Barry is going to be, because he's accepted, obviously, like, oh, yeah, I can't mess with the Speed Force. But he learns that while having everything he wants, except for a friend he's known for a few months die. Right. So for him to lose the love of his life and then still choose to not go back in time and change it, I think that's his next hurdle. But I don't know how the villain figures into that.
I guess, again, if you handed me the keys and said, write something, my thought would be he gets out of the Speed Force and things have changed, but for the better. So Barry is done with his whole weight of the world on my shoulders thing. But what he does still have is now he has to deal with the idea that Wally is the better Flash, that Wally is the Flash that Central City wants, not Barry. And maybe Iris did wait for him, and she's not seeing anybody. And so he has her. But what he doesn't have is the ability to tell Wally, okay, I want to be Flash again. Because he's going to have to rip that from his friend who loves it and who Central City loves him. And in order to rip that from him would be the most selfish thing he could do and say, I know that you love being Flash, but I'm back. So I have to obviously be Flash. You need to be demoted to Kid Flash again. And I think, like, again, if you handed me the keys, and the first idea that comes to my mind is that what he deals with is that it's how do I adjust in the world that doesn't need me? Obviously Iris needs me. Right. But the world doesn't. The world has a Flash, and it's a better Flash than I ever was. And how does one deal with the idea of, it's almost like you have a job, you're at work, and somebody who's better at their job than you are gets promoted, and it's like, dang, I really wanted that promotion, but they are better than me. You know what I mean? Like, right. And maybe you could frame it that way, that's what happens. And then, you could also work in, and I would like to see them at some point work in Bart Allen, which I think in the comics is Barry's grandson, great-grandson, something like that. And who time travels back to fight crime with them. So maybe he comes back and there's Wally is Flash and Bart is Kid Flash, and there's no, Jay Garrick is there. There's nothing for Barry to do.
There's no place for him.
Yeah, there's no place for him in this world anymore, except as a civilian. And he still has his powers. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Just spitballing.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, dude, I don't know. That's a conundrum. We'll have to wait and see.
It's a conundrum. Yeah, I'm very interested anyway.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about what's in theaters now, or what's in theaters this weekend? I'm going to hold over the other stuff for next show. But let's take a look at the box, not the box office. Well, here, why don't you pull up the box office? I'll take a look at what's coming up in theaters this weekend. What's in theaters now, of course, is Alien Covenant, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You got King Arthur, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and all that stuff. But the big two, Alien Covenant, what's got number one? I'm imagining it's still Guardians. Probably.
It is still Guardians.
Right, but is Alien number two?
Alien is number two.
Okay, so yeah, about what I expected. Guardians is a big crowd pleaser, and Alien's narrow. It's got narrow, R-rated R, not for families. You know?
Right,
Come
exactly.
on
You're
now.
not going to take the whole family to see Alien.
Yeah, you can. It's just like, all right, well, I don't want to see, um, do you want to go see, Star Lord and a talking raccoon and, all kinds of, all kinds of fun things, or do you want to see that? Take your kids to see that it's a horrific thing. Just
Horrific sexual horror rape analogy.
pretty much.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. The Alien. I mean, I also hear Aliens.
I
So,
I hear that too. I hear it's not up to snuff.
right. But everything is number 3,
What?
followed by
Oh, got it.
Snatched, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid is number 5.
You know what I'd love to see?
Yes. What is that?
Diarrhea of a wimpy kid.
Oh, I wouldn't want to see that. Gross.
Just like 3 seconds of going, oh no, and then it cuts to black. And then you have the BFG coming around the corner like, would you like some toilet paper? Got a whole truck of it.
Whole truck of it.
Whole truck of toilet paper, TP. Wiping
King
papers.
Arthur opened in 6th, yo.
Oh dear.
Did anybody want to see that at all
It
ever?
opened in 6th?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Oh, well,
Ooh, not good. Not good, my friend.
It just has no. I didn't hear. Who knows? I mean, I like Charlie Hunnam, but like from what I heard, it just is just one of those things where like they just sort of thought that people would come see it because they know who King Arthur is, but like there's nothing about the story that's inherently.
Well,
There's nothing there.
My problem with this is, I mean, look at this. Except for maybe the clothes, even though honestly the clothes look like they could have come from any store in 2017.
It looks like he's got Macklemore's jacket.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just a hipster, and then it's just a hipster getup, and then but his hair and beard, that's 2017 all over the place.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing historical looking about that at all. There was literally, and I wish I could tell you how to find it, but there's a poster for this movie that was ridiculously
Hold on a
incomplete
second.
2017.
Look at this. Swear to God.
Yeah, King Arthur. There it is. Just add a beard.
Popping tags.
Right. That's it.
Look, it's the same coat.
It's the exact same thing.
Maybe it's not, a dead ringer.
He just wears Shrek's vest underneath it. That's it.
You're not gonna find Shrek's vest.
You got to be careful Googling Shrek, though.
That's true. All right, here we go. Here's some Shrek.
Some Shrek.
Just alt types in Shrek is love.
No.
Oh, this is. Look at this. Oh no. Oh no. Stop.
What do people do with their lives?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so drunk.
Oh, I don't like this anymore. This is not a fun game.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Oh, there's so many. There's so many strange things on here.
What is that realistic looking one?
This one? It's him making out with a Little Mermaid.
No, not this one.
Wearing a bathing
back.
suit.
There's one.
Okay.
Scroll up right there beside the Shrek DVD cover. Down.
Oh, God.
See what I'm talking about? What is this?
I guess that's what he'd look like in real life.
Oh, creepy. Look at his feet.
I know. Where are his legs?
He has no legs. It's just feet.
His legs just go right up into his stomach.
This is a problem anatomically. He can't move. What an excruciating existence this thing is.
He looks like one of the Monstars.
Oh, he does.
All right. Anyway, what's happening?
This is the Larry Bird Monstar. Yeah, no. Okay, so this weekend, what comes out this weekend?
You got Baywatch
Okay.
and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. By the way, here's that green Monstar I was talking about.
You should Google this, Hooper. Speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, Paul McCartney is in the new one.
Oh God.
They
Who
released a
is?
poster.
Oh, okay. Let me find that.
Yeah, so you got to pull that up.
All right.
Um,
All right. Paul
Paul
McCartney.
McCartney. Yeah, Paul McCartney in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Is he? Oh God. Um, Pirates 5. Okay. Oh, sweet God. What is this?
The weird thing is, like, I don't know. I'm a
This
Beatles
looks
fan.
like
Whatever.
some terrible Photoshop. It literally looks like they took a it's seriously, look at that. It's like
I know. I
it's
know.
it looks like they took a snapshot of Jack Sparrow. They
Yep.
poorly photoshopped Paul McCartney in there, and then they
Yeah.
said it looks too much like Jack. Let's put Barbossa's hat on
Yeah,
him.
add some Barbosa. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
They would have been better off with this picture. Oh, here's a good one. Oh, I love this. That's good. Just like,
that's awesome.
hello, thumbs up, hello. Do you
That's
have
what it
some
should have been.
a toilet
That's
paper
totally
truck?
what it should have been.
He should have been the BFG.
Oh, he should at some point in the movie he needs to sing Blackbeard singing in the dead of night. That's the only Pirates pun I can come up with. Blackbeard sing.
He needs to sing help while they're making him walk the plank.
Uh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, weirdly enough, like I have no interest in that movie, and then they released that poster, and I was like, all right, I kind of have an interest in this movie now.
Sorry, he's just got some big. Oh damn. Oh well, I meant to undo, and now I accidentally took the image. Oh God, he's a scary looking man. I'm sorry, he got creepy looking real fast.
Yeah, he's quite old now.
He's very old.
Dude's gonna be playing a concert in the area this summer. I think I'm gonna try to go see him.
Really?
Yeah, you never know what's gonna be his last.
Hey, you're right.
Not because he's gonna die. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he could retire.
Yeah, he just decides. You know what? After like 70 years of doing this, I've had
Dude,
it.
I've got so much respect for these guys like him and the Stones because it's like they don't have to work.
No, they don't.
They have enough money. They don't have to do it. You know, the only reason they do it is because they love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I can't see at this age like Katy Perry, you know, when she's in her 70s still working.
Actual picture of Keith Richards there. No makeup. Just
Right. That's just him.
That's just him. That's just him in West Hollywood. Like, hello.
Hello, what are we doing here?
Yeah. What do you think is going to get more money, Baywatch or Pirates? Probably Pirates, right?
I think Pirates will. Baywatch is rated R.
That's true. It is.
Pirates is just going to be the thing. I think Baywatch will do well,
Yeah.
but I hear it's pretty bad. Yeah.
I don't know when this picture was taken, but they both look much younger.
Yeah, they do. You know what? That may be. I know Jack. Oh, Jack. I know Johnny was in a couple of Paul's music videos.
Sorry, I'm finding some hilarious pictures of him as a pirate. Okay, so hold on. Well, I'm sorry, Dustin. I'm sorry to keep doing this to you. So get out of the way. That's the actual picture, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This, hold on. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Oh, this picture seriously looks not that much worse.
Yes. Correct. Except the beard. The beard is weird.
I guess. But it's literally just like a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's not that.
It's not. But you know, I mean,
there's the
Paul
poster.
Yeah. It's Paul McCartney. They're not going to cover up his face with a patch. They're going to make sure you know this is Paul McCartney when you watch that movie. But you know what I think would be even cooler though? Like it's cool enough that it's Paul McCartney. but really, Ringo should be in it with him. I mean, they should have just pulled out all the stops and had Paul and Ringo as some like, pirate duo, and like Ringo's, like they're co-captains of this yellow submarine.
Submarine.
Yeah, this yellow submarine ship.
You know, the only thing that I think could be interesting about this new movie is, I don't know, man. It just,
Yeah.
I watched the first one. We've been going on a while. God. I watched the first one really recently. It also is on Netflix, and so I just started watching it, and I forgot how I was going to say this for the Kingdom of Heaven. I will save some for the Kingdom of Heaven, but essentially, I forgot how good of a standalone film that movie is. Like, forget the franchise and forget just like enjoying it. That movie's excellent.
It's really good.
It's really
really good.
really well executed, really just well put together. I've got
And it
some
really
clips.
didn't need a sequel at all. It was so standalone.
Yeah, exactly. I have a clip. Let me play something real quick just to tease what I mean, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
There's the movie's really good with and not a lot of movies do this a lot where they actually have the music. Sometimes the music's just kind of laid under there. It's just like, all right, let's just put some music in this film. It feels like that sometimes. Like whenever someone's like, the music was great, I'm like, I didn't really notice it.
Right.
But you've got a movie that really uses music to great effect. And I'm gonna have to bring it down while until they start fighting. But you got this sword fight scene in here, and the music plays perfectly with what's going on, pace wise in it. So it really underlines the tension of the scene. So let me. Where's he going? Yeah, he's about to grab the screen. So he tells him, like, do you think it's wise? This is the first time you see Will Turner fight, and you see the first time you see Jack fight, and he's trying, in this scene, Jack is trying to escape and Will's stopping him from escaping. So let's listen.
You know what you're doing, I'll give you that. Excellent form. But how's your footwork? If I step here... Very good. And now I step again.
It's just part, and you can't hear that, Dustin, but what I'm talking about. You remember.
Yep, I do.
You remember how it just every sword clank, there's violinists just looking up at a big screen going like dun 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 dun, dun, and it perfectly. That's just one of the many things that does well. The editing and the music really enhance the action and the tension in that film. And I'll talk more about it next time. But I watched it, and it was a weird parallel because they both star Orlando Bloom. And I wanted to talk about him particularly as an actor in some of these things, but in Pirates especially, like, that it's just shot so well. The performances are still good. It's before they just let Johnny Depp do whatever he wanted, and when the plot was still coherent and the characters they were complex relationships, but they weren't convoluted relationships. Just so much was going on in that film, and it was so good.
Well, I think there was a tone shift as well, maybe even a genre shift after the first film, because really, if you watch that first one, it's grounded in reality that has supernatural elements at play. The other ones become fantasy films. And this is the only one I felt like, obviously I didn't see the fourth one, but the first one was really the only one that I felt like actually could have existed. And then there's this like tall tale, this legend that's laid on top of it, and it's supernatural, but in a way that like Indiana Jones is, where Indiana Jones still feels real, still feels like there's stakes, still feels like, it's our world. It's just there's some stuff going on that, is a little supernatural. And then the other ones is just like, oh, and now there's Davy Jones' locker, and now there's like getting time looped, and there's the earth is actually flat, and, all this stuff. And it's like, wow, that just came out of nowhere. So yeah, no, I think there was even a genre shift in these movies.
Yeah, there was, and it's just they ceased from being adventure, action adventure films to like damn near sci-fi.
Yeah.
They're fantasy adventure films.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the first one had, fantasy elements. You got, and you got an undead army of skeletons.
Right.
But then every movie after that, undead army of somethings.
Yeah.
Everything's an undead army. And it's like it's kind of played out. And from what I hear of the new one, from what I hear, it's just like there's nothing. It just feels like every other action movie that's out. There's nothing special about it. And when Pirates came out, it felt special. There was the characters. They were unique. They were different.
Yep.
You had this eccentric captain who was kind of inept, but at the same time, like in the first movie, I don't want to say too much, but essentially, I have a real problem with Jack Sparrow across the movies because in the first movie he was smart, like he actually was cunning. He was just kind of unlucky, but he was still capable and smart and very, very, very intelligent. And then in the later films, he's just this doofus savant who just is just lucky. Nothing exciting about him. Nothing about him that earns the name. It's just like, oh, he's just some lucky bastard who ends up never getting killed. Whereas in the first one, it was like he was
smart but strange,
unconventional, very oddball. But when he succeeded, that captain was just like, that's gotta be the best pirate I've ever seen. They spend the whole movie like the worst pirate I've ever heard of, and then they take the ship out of the port, which is the two of them, and he's like, that's got. And so in that scene, you're like, wow, he's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
And
no, he is. Yeah, no, I agree. And I could talk about these all day, but I always liken them to Indiana Jones because I feel like, judging from the first film, it really could have been a franchise equivalent to Indiana Jones. It could have, capitalized on what Indy was, where Indy was, like, let's play with history and let's make sure that we show things that are rooted in real history, but are also larger than life. And that's what, the Curse of the Black Pearl was. And then, you could have gone into the legend of Blackbeard and the legend of this and the legend of that and all of these, tales of pirates throughout the ages. And instead they gave us like an octopus face dude. And, it's like you've completely lost any credibility because, even just in the aesthetic, because even if you had said, okay, here's Davy Jones, fine, it's a guy who controls a thing, just like the guy at the end of the Last Crusade that sits in a room full of cups. Like, it's a weird thing, but it's realistic. If Davy Jones was literally just a dude, it would have been way more effective. But the fact that he's a squid face guy, now it's fantasy. Now it's not historical at all. It's completely fictional. But yeah, no, I think I could talk about those movies for hours because you're right. The first one is so good. And it was so refreshing and original at the time.
Scary. Look at that.
Oh, his lips.
I know.
Jack Skellington.
Just like, nah. That feels so strange to just be out on a ship, just looking like that.
Just yes.
So weird. Anyway, okay. Well, anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, listening, watching, subscribing, watching after the fact, whatever you did. Probably watching after the fact. But thanks for checking out our show, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and just, I don't know, follow us on Twitter. I don't know why I'm so just not remembering any of our links tonight. I'm just kind of tired, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, we're at HooperCast on Twitter, HooperCast Pod on YouTube, and that's pretty much the only places to find us. There's other places scattered out that you can find our work, but currently we are YouTube, and on Twitter I'll occasionally tweet some funny things about movies. So will Dustin, and yeah, man. Dustin, thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
obviously. Hooper. And yeah, guys, check us out. Check us out next week, and we'll, I guess, see you guys on the other side.
Yeah.